The space station hung in the void like a silver jewel. Lights blinked along its vast corridors, and the hum of machinery mixed with voices speaking countless languages. Aliens of all shapes and sizes moved through the hallways, their limbs and eyes reflecting their unique cultures. Among them walked humans tall, confident, and quiet observers of the universe around them. Princess Lariah of the Illyrians moved carefully through the grand hall. Her skin shimmered faintly under the artificial light, her robes flowing elegantly with every step. She was young for a royal, but her eyes held centuries of inherited knowledge. Curiosity always drove her, even when her advisors frowned. Today, she was more curious than usual. She had been watching humans for weeks. They fascinated her. Unlike her people, who had strict cycles of life and reproduction, humans seemed different, free, flexible, alive in ways that defied her understanding. Every time she observed them, her mind buzzed with questions. In the observation gallery, she finally saw the one she had been seeking, Captain Adrian Core, a human diplomat sent to the station to discuss interstellar trade agreements. Adrian was tall, his brown eyes calm, and his posture confident. He spoke gently with a group of aliens, explaining human customs, but his tone never felt condescending. Lariah felt a strange warmth of interest. He was human, yes, but he was more than that. He carried a presence that made the air feel different. Her attendants whispered nervously. "Princess, you should not linger too long," one said. "The humans are unpredictable in their behavior." Lariah smiled faintly. "I am not here to make them angry," she replied. "I am here to understand." The moment arrived during the cultural exchange. Representatives from dozens of species gathered in a grand hall. Crystal chandeliers floated mid-air, projecting soft light across the polished floor. Alien nobles murmured among themselves, their eyes flicking to the humans, who seemed almost casual in the presence of royalty. Lariah stepped forward gracefully. Her voice, smooth and melodic, carried across the hall. "I have a question about your species," she said. The room fell silent. The humans shifted slightly, but Adrian met her gaze steadily. "It is unusual, but I must know. How often can humans mate?" A gasp rose from the alien nobles. Heads turned, eyes wide in shock. No royal had ever spoken so directly about such matters. Her attendants looked ready to faint. Adrian blinked once, then smiled gently. He recognized the curiosity, not the malice. He knew she was not being rude. She was asking a question of science, of understanding. "Princess," he began carefully, "humans are different from most species. We can mate throughout the year. There are no strict cycles or seasons. Our bodies are capable, and our minds choose when it is appropriate." A ripple of murmurs passed through the hall. Aliens whispered, some scandalized, others confused. In Illyrian society, reproductive cycles were sacred and controlled. The idea of continuous choice was shocking. Lariah's eyes widened slightly. She did not speak immediately. Instead, she tilted her head, examining Adrian as if he were a specimen she had never seen before. His explanation was clear, precise, and entirely human. She realized that humans were not bound by the same limitations as her people. They were free. Her curiosity deepened. "And is this normal?" she asked softly, almost to herself. Adrian met her gaze. "Yes, it is normal for us. We are not limited by cycles or timing. Human bonds are about more than biology. They are about connection, trust, and care." The princess's heart skipped a beat. The words carried a meaning she had not expected. Humans were not just different, they were complex, emotional, capable of choice in ways most alien species could not imagine. She felt a spark of fascination that was both scientific and personal. Her attendants began to step closer, murmuring, "Princess, this is inappropriate." One whispered. Lariah waved her hand gracefully. "I wish to learn," she said. Her voice was calm, but firm. No one dared argue further. The meeting continued. But Lariah could not focus on trade agreements or diplomatic formalities. Her mind swirled with questions. Humans were not simple creatures. Their freedom, their choice, and their emotional depth made them unpredictable and fascinating. She wondered how such creatures survived in a universe that was harsh, structured, and often cruel. After the meeting, she requested a private audience with Adrian. The attendants exchanged nervous glances. "Princess, are you certain?" one asked. "I am certain," Lyraya said. "I must understand more. Not for gossip, not for amusement, but for knowledge." Adrian waited in the smaller observation chamber. The walls were glass, overlooking the stars. The station's lights reflected softly, giving the room a calm, almost intimate feeling. When Lyraya entered, she did not hesitate. She stepped forward, curiosity shining in her eyes. "You asked me before," Adrian began gently, and I answered honestly. "Do you wish to know more?" "Yes," she replied. Her voice was quiet, but firm. "I need to understand why your species is different. Why your cycles are not controlled. Why your choices are your own." Adrian nodded. "You wish to understand humans not as aliens see them, but as they truly are." Lyraya considered him, then asked a question that made even Adrian pause for a moment. "And do you enjoy it?" He blinked, a small, knowing smile forming. "It is part of life. It is natural. We do not treat it as shameful or improper. It is how we bond, how we connect, and how we share trust." The princess's eyes widened. She had expected science, biology, explanation, but this was different. It spoke of choice, freedom, emotion, and it was something her people did not understand. She realized humans were capable of experiences that were far beyond her imagination. "Your species is remarkable," she said softly, "and I do not fully understand it." "You will if you observe," Adrian said kindly. "But understanding requires time and experience. Not just questions, but watching, listening, and feeling. Humans are not just what you see on the surface." Lyraya nodded slowly. Her mind raced. She wanted to see more, not for amusement, but for knowledge. The freedom humans possessed, the depth of their emotions, and the way they chose their paths fascinated her beyond measure. For hours, she stayed in the chamber, watching Adrian interact with others. She noticed small gestures, a hand placed on a shoulder, a gentle smile, a shared laugh. Humans expressed connection in ways her people did not. Their bonds were voluntary, chosen, and powerful. She returned to her quarters that evening, her mind still buzzing. Her attendants waited anxiously. "Princess, you seem unsettled," one said. "I am not unsettled," she replied, though even she felt the truth of the words. "I am intrigued. Humans are unlike anything I have ever known. I must understand more." And so the seed was planted. Princess Lyraya would watch humans closely, study their behavior, and learn their secrets. Not to exploit them, not to mock them, but to understand a species that defied all expectations. A species that, in its freedom and choice, shocked her in ways she had never imagined. As she drifted into sleep, the stars outside the station reflected in her eyes. She wondered how much humans could teach her, not just about biology, but about life, trust, and connection. The question she had asked earlier had been simple, but the answer had opened a door. And she was eager to walk through it. The first part of her journey had begun. It was only the start. Princess Lyraya could not stop thinking about humans. Their freedom, their choices, their bonds, everything about them fascinated her. She walked the station corridors again, but this time she moved with purpose. She had requested another private audience with Captain Adrian Core, and today, she would observe humans more closely. When she arrived at the observation chamber, Adrian was already there, reviewing data from the diplomatic meetings. He looked up and smiled. "Princess," he said warmly, "I did not expect you so soon. I want to understand more," she said simply. Her eyes, still wide with curiosity, studied him carefully. "I need to see how humans live, how they connect, how they—" She paused, searching for words. "Care for each other." Adrian nodded, understanding her need for knowledge. "Very well. Observation is the first step. Humans express themselves in many ways through actions, through words, and through small gestures that mean more than they seem. The princess followed him to a more private part of the Stashana human living area. Here, the walls were softer, warmer. Plants grew in glowing pots, and laughter filled the space. Several humans moved about, sharing meals, adjusting equipment, and talking in low voices. The environment was different from the rigid, formal halls she had seen before. Humans lived and worked together in a way that felt natural. "Watch closely," Adrian whispered. "Notice how humans interact. Every gesture, every smile, every touch has meaning." Laraya's eyes widened as she observed. Two humans sat side by side, laughing at a joke. One placed a hand lightly on the other's shoulder, a simple act, but it spoke volumes of trust and connection. She had never seen such casual intimacy before. Among her people, any touch carried strict rules and deep significance. Here, it was effortless and genuine. "They are comfortable with each other," she murmured. "They do not seem constrained by rules or cycles." Adrian smiled. "Humans value choice. We choose whom to trust, whom to bond with, and when to share affection. It is not controlled. It is lived." As they walked further, they encountered a group of humans training in physical exercises. Their movements were fluid, strong, and coordinated. Yet it was not just their strength that intrigued her. It was their teamwork. They moved with understanding, anticipating each other's actions without words. "Humans are strong," Liraya said, "but it is more than strength. They trust each other." "Exactly," Adrian replied. "Trust is the foundation of our connections, whether for survival or for bonds. Strength alone is not enough. Understanding and cooperation make us remarkable." She nodded slowly, absorbing every detail. Then she noticed a young human laughing and accidentally tripping over a small crate. Another immediately reached out, steadying them. The first human smiled gratefully, and they returned to their task. Liraya felt a strange warmth. This simple act, kindness given without hesitation, left a deep impression. Humans were capable of caring without expectations, something rare in her world. Later, Adrian invited her to join a small discussion with humans and alien observers. Liraya hesitated. Being among humans so closely was new, almost intimidating, but her curiosity overcame her caution. She followed quietly, listening to the conversation. Humans spoke openly, sometimes arguing, but always respectfully. They questioned each other, shared ideas, and sometimes laughed at their own mistakes. Liraya noticed that humans valued opinions, even when they disagreed. There was no hierarchy and thought ideas mattered more than rank. She leaned closer to Adrian. "They are unlike my people. Even among royals, ideas are often ignored. Here, choice matters." Adrian nodded. "That is true. Humans respect individuality. It is why we are adaptable, why we survive, and why we bond deeply. We choose who we become and whom we trust." As the hours passed, Liraya felt herself relaxing. She realized that her fascination was no longer only scientific, it was personal. She admired the humans not just for their biology or their freedom, but for the way they lived with honesty, choice, and care. Adrian noticed her quiet observation and spoke softly. "Princess, do you feel overwhelmed?" She blinked, startled. "Perhaps I did not expect this. I thought I would only observe. But there is more, here more than I imagined." "Yes," Adrian said gently. "Humans are complex. To understand us fully, one must see beyond biology, beyond rules. One must feel, watch, and learn." Liraya considered him, her mind racing. She had always been taught that knowledge was power, that observation was the key. But here, observation was only the beginning. She wanted to experience, to understand emotions, gestures, connections, the things that made humans truly remarkable. Over the next few days, She spent more time in the human living quarters, quietly observing and asking questions. She learned about human communication, about how laughter could ease tension, how touch could express trust, and how shared experiences created bonds stronger than any formal promise. One evening, she found herself alone with Adrian, looking out at the stars. The station glowed softly, lights reflecting like distant planets. She spoke quietly, almost as if to herself. Humans are free in ways I never imagined. They choose, they care, and they connect. It is beautiful. Adrian turned to her, his expression calm and kind. It is, and it is not easy. Freedom comes with responsibility. Trust comes with understanding. That is what makes humans remarkable. We are capable, but we are careful. We live fully, but thoughtfully. She nodded, absorbing his words. Her fascination deepened. Humans were not perfect, but their imperfections were part of their strength. They made choices, faced consequences, and learned. That was a kind of power her people rarely had. The princess realized something surprising. She felt admiration, respect, and something she had never expected: connection. She had come to learn about humans, but now she found herself drawn to them, particularly to Adrian. His patience, his guidance, and his calm confidence made her heart beat faster, though she would not admit it aloud. One afternoon, she followed a group of humans to a training field. They practiced teamwork exercises, lifting, running, and testing their limits. Lariah observed quietly from the edge. Fascinated by how humans encouraged each other, corrected mistakes without anger, and celebrated small victories, they trust each other. She whispered to Adrian, who stood beside her. Yes, he said, trust and choice. That is why humans survive in ways many cannot predict. We adapt, we connect, and we endure. As the sun or the station's artificial simulation began to set, humans gathered together, sharing food and stories. Lariah watched, realizing that this simple act-sharing and caring was extraordinary. Even the smallest gesture, a smile or a laugh, strengthened bonds in ways she had never seen. Your people, they do not do this, she asked quietly. Not in the same way, Adrian replied. Trust, choice, and shared joy are rare in many societies. Humans are unusual, yes, but perhaps that is why we are capable of so much. The princess smiled faintly, her mind buzzing with thoughts. She had come seeking knowledge, but she had discovered something more profound. Humans were not just biologically different, they were socially and emotionally exceptional. Their freedom, their bonds, their choices, they were all part of a unique strength. That night, she returned to her quarters. Lariah could not sleep. She replayed the day in her mind, the laughter, the gestures, the connections she had witnessed. She realized that she was no longer a distant observer. She wanted to understand humans fully, not just scientifically, but emotionally. Her curiosity had turned into fascination, and fascination was turning into something deeper. She did not yet know what that was, but she felt it in every heartbeat. Humans had shocked her once with their biology, and now they had captivated her with their lives, their hearts, and their choices. Princess Lariah closed her eyes, staring at the stars through the station window. The first part of her study had revealed much, but the second part, discovery and bonding, had shown her something far more remarkable. Humans were extraordinary. She wanted to see everything they had to offer. And in the quiet of her chamber, she made a decision. She would continue to learn, to watch, and to understand. Not for duty alone, but for the truth she could feel deep within her, a truth that humans were unlike any species she had ever met. The journey was far from over. The discovery of human emotion, choice, and connection was only the beginning. And Princess Lariah, once merely curious, was now deeply fascinated, eager to see what more humans could teach her about life, trust, and connection. Princess Lariah had spent weeks observing humans. Their freedom, their choices, and their emotional bonds had captivated her. But now, she wanted more. Observation was not enough. She wanted to experience human life firsthand, to understand what made them truly remarkable. Adrian Core awaited her at the docking bay of the station, his calm presence reassuring. "Princess," he said, bowing slightly. "What? Are you ready to see the human world?" "Yes," she replied, her voice steady, though her heart raced. Had prepared herself for this journey, but she did not know what to expect. She only knew she wanted to see humans at their most natural, their most human. They boarded a small transport ship, and as the station receded behind them, Lariah felt a thrill. Stars stretched endlessly outside the window, and she realized how small and vast the universe could be at the same time. Adrian glanced at her and smiled. Human world is not a station. It is alive, full of movement, sound, and life. You will see humans in their own element, not confined by diplomacy or observation decks. The ship landed on a lush, green planet. Trees swayed gently in the wind, rivers sparkled in the sunlight, and birds of multiple species sang in harmony. Humans moved through the landscape, working, talking, and laughing together. Lariah felt a sense of awe. Unlike her world, which was structured, regulated, and controlled, this human world was full of freedom and choice. Adrian led her through the village. People greeted them warmly, though curiously. Humans did not treat her with exaggerated reverence. They saw her as a visitor, not a princess. Lariah was fascinated by the equality and openness of their society. "Observe," Adrian whispered. "Notice how humans interact naturally, without fear or hesitation. Their bonds are voluntary, built on trust and mutual respect." They walked to a communal gathering area where humans were preparing for a festival. Music played softly, and children ran freely, laughing. Adults worked together, cooking, decorating, and sharing stories. Lariah watched a young couple gently tease each other, smiling and touching lightly. She realized that humans expressed affection freely, without shame or fear. "They are fearless in their connections," she murmured. "They choose to care, and they do so openly." Adrian nodded. "Yes, humans choose bonds, friendships, partnerships. We value them and nurture them, not because rules demand it, but because our hearts guide us." As they continued, Lariah saw humans helping one another, lifting fallen loads, KIDing children, assisting the elderly. Every act was voluntary, yet filled with care. She began to understand that human strength was not only in their bodies, but in their hearts and minds. Later, Adrian brought her to a human home. The house was simple, yet warm and full of life. Inside, a family laughed together, preparing a meal. Lariah observed quietly, amazed at the joy, cooperation, and love that filled the space. "These bonds, they are not commanded," she said softly. "They are chosen, and yet they feel permanent." "Yes," Adrian said. "Humans build connections through choice, trust, and care. It is not forced, it grows naturally, and that is why it is strong." Lariah felt a wave of admiration. She realized humans were capable of emotions and connections that were rare, even among alien species. They had freedom, strength, and heart all at once. She also felt a personal stir. Her fascination was growing into respect, perhaps even something deeper. That evening, under a sky filled with stars, Adrian and Lariah walked along a quiet path. Fireflies glowed around them, and the soft rustle of leaves created a peaceful harmony. Lariah hesitated, then spoke. "Adrian, humans are unlike anything I have known. They are strong, adaptable, and adapt, caring in ways I cannot fully explain." He nodded gently. "That is true. Humans survive because we understand choice, trust, and responsibility. We are not perfect, but we are capable. That is our strength." Lariah looked at him, her mind racing. She had come to learn about humans, but she had discovered more respect, admiration, and a deep fascination. Adrian's patience, guidance, and calm confidence had shown her the best of humanity. "Do you think humans are exceptional?" she asked almost shyly. Adrian smiled. "I do. Not just in strength or intellect, but in our ability to connect, to care, to adapt. That is what makes us remarkable. And from what I have seen, you understand that too." Her heart beat faster. She had not expected to feel this way, but she realized she did care, not only for what humans could teach her, but for the humans themselves. Her curiosity had grown into something deeply personal. Over the next few days, she joined humans in their daily life. She helped with chores, participated in their training exercises, and shared in their laughter. Every moment revealed a new layer of human complexity, strength combined with kindness, intelligence balanced by emotion, freedom guided by responsibility. Lariah began to understand why humans could survive and thrive in the galaxy. They were not only adaptable physically, but socially and emotionally resilient. Their bonds, their choices, and their ability to care made them formidable, even in a universe filled with strict rules and powerful empires. One afternoon, a small crisis occurred. A child had wandered near a river, struggling in the current. Without hesitation, several humans sprang into action. One dove in, carefully rescuing the child, while others coordinated to ensure safety. Lariah watched in awe, her heart pounding. Humans acted quickly, bravely, and with compassion. "They are credible," she whispered. Adrian placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Humans rise to challenges not because of instinct alone, but because we care. That is our true strength." That night, around a small fire, humans sang songs of their history, their struggles, and their victories. Lariah listened, captivated by the stories of survival, trust, and unity. Realized that humans were not only biologically flexible, they were emotionally and socially extraordinary. Finally, she turned to Adrian. "I understand now. Humans are more than I imagined. You choose your bonds, your actions, and your connections. That is what makes you remarkable." Adrian looked at her, his expression calm and kind. "You have learned it not only by observing, but by being part of it. That is the best way to understand humans, through experience, not just study." Lariah smiled faintly. Her journey had started with a simple question, one that had shocked many. But the answer had opened her eyes to a new perspective. Humans were capable of so much strength, connection, care, and adaptability in one, and she had come to respect them deeply, perhaps even more than she had expected. As the stars shone above, she realized that humans were not just fascinating, they were extraordinary. And she, Princess Liaria of the Illyrians, had been fortunate enough to witness it firsthand. Her curiosity had turned into admiration, her study into understanding, her fascination into respect. The princess knew that she would never see the universe the same way again. Humans had shown her that life was not only about rules and cycles, but about choice, trust, and connection. That was a lesson that no library, no lecture, and no observation could teach. It's only living among them, experiencing their world, and feeling their bonds could reveal the truth. And as she looked at Adrian, standing calmly beside her, she realized that humans had the power to change not only the galaxy, but also the heart of an alien princess who had come seeking knowledge, and had found something far more extraordinary. The journey had ended, but the understanding and respect she gained would last forever. Humans were exceptional, and Princess Lariah would carry that truth with her, a reminder that life, in its freedom and choice, could be far more remarkable than she had ever imagined.